Good afternoon, Center Hill. Michael here today just to bring you a short message from God's Word. Let's just try to look at this as a serving of daily bread. And we're living in uncertain times, and people have questions about the COVID-19, and people question, well, what is going on, and what is God doing in this situation, and what is God going to do to provide for His people? A very natural question. And God has always reminded His children to look to Him for provision, to look to Him for their daily bread. It reminds me of a story we see in 1 Kings chapter 17. And God is going to grow the faith of His prophet Elijah by also growing the faith of a widow from a place called Zarephath. We see here in this story where God tells Elijah, go to Zarephath. And He says there that someone is going to provide for him to help him out. And so Elijah goes to Zarephath and he finds this widow. And he tells her that he needs some help, that he needs something to eat. This widow says, I've really only got enough flour and oil to make something for my son and myself. We can't help you because we were just going to eat this and basically go on our way and really just get ready to die. And Elijah says, how about instead you make me something to eat? Because God has told me that if you serve me, that you won't run out of oil, you won't run out of flour, that you and your son will be well taken care of. And we see here that Elijah says, do not be afraid. He says, go and do as you have said, but first make me a small loaf, bring it to me. And it says here that the flour in the jar will not become empty, the oil jug will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the surface of the land. And so she proceeded to do according to the word of Elijah. Then the woman, Elijah and her household, they ate for many days. The flour jar did not become empty, and the oil jug did not run dry, according to the word of the Lord that He had spoken through Elijah. See, in this case, this particular widow, she was nervous that she would not have enough to help this man of God, nor help her family. And God provided for not only her family, but for the prophet Elijah. We see in this case that both the prophet Elijah and the widow, they both are having to have faith in God. God told Elijah, you go to this lady. I'm sure Elijah must have thought, God, why did you send me to a lady who has very little resources to help? But as you can see, God provided for the widow who was then able to provide for the man of God. In times like this, we're wondering, well, what is God going to do to help take care of me and my family? And if we're not careful, we forget the other people around us that God has called us to help and assist. Elijah here, he's blessed. The widow was blessed. And we see their faith grow. So in these type of times we're in right now, let us be the type of people who look to our neighbor and see how we can assist and help them. It will certainly grow our faith, and it will grow theirs. And God will take care of us all. We can always count on the Lord taking care of His children. Even when things don't seem like it's enough, God makes it enough. Even when you don't think you have enough grace, God says, my grace is sufficient. Even when you don't think that you can be forgiven, God says, oh yes, I can forgive you. When you don't feel that you have love and acceptance, God's love is always enough. No matter what your circumstance or your situation, God always makes enough to provide for His children. May God bless us all as we continue on to serve Him and one another.